Welcome to the BFF Report. I'm your host, Mike the aka Phony, and today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Go and all of the controversies that go along with it. Obviously, we talk a little bit about the game itself and talk about the features and functions and everything that come along with it. But there's just so much good stuff that's been happening over the past several months, or sorry, past month or so, since the game's release, that we can't not talk about it. It's kind of like a preview to the 2016 most controversial games that I used to do. Then I will be doing it again this year. But you know, it's funny, even given everything that's happened alongside the release, it still may not even qualify for it because a lot of crazy stuff's happened this year. So that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get into the game features itself, and then we'll talk a little bit about the controversies towards the end. Sound good? Sounds good. Pokemon Go is one of the original collect 'em all style games with the added mechanic of ARG, where it uses the device's camera to let you see Pokemon around your house or outside or whatever, but no one really uses this feature because it kills your battery, and the entire rest of the game is toxic enough that seeing a Pokemon on your shitter serves no other purpose than for you to take a screenshot and post it to social media because you're oh so original. Now, when you do see one, you catch it using a limited resource called a Pokeball, and if he manages to escape from being caught, you can attempt to catch him again, assuming he hasn't run away, or, from the get-go preferably, you can just feed him the Pokemon equivalent of a roofie to make it easier to capture them. Now that's just one way to add a Pokemon to your inventory. Another way is through the egg system. Now eggs take walking, actual walking, or I guess riding a bike or a skateboard in order to make it hatch. 2K, 5K, and 10K are your distances you're looking at for these things, and you have to buy egg incubators. Now you have one to start with, but you really can't get a whole lot done with just one, so you really want to try to invest, if you spend any money on this game, in egg incubators because it's one of the best ways to get Pokemon in your inventory. Now, 90% of the time, especially when you're playing for a little while, you're probably going to get nothing but Pokemon you already have. In which case you're going to take your old Pokemon and turn them in for candy and try to use that in order to evolve the new one you have, or vice versa. Now outside of that, visiting Pokestops and of course trying to take over a gym, all this we'll talk about more in a moment, there really isn't a whole lot to do in Pokemon Go. There really isn't. There's just not a lot of depth. You can't PvP except to, you know, make an attempt to take a gym, which is owned by some BlueStacks running GPS spoofing botter, and even with that, PvP is pretty lame. Swipe, long tap, swipe, tap, swipe. You also can't trade Pokemon, which is kind of a good thing because if you could, you know that Pokecrime would go through the roof and people would be getting killed over like a CP300 Magikarp. Now you can pop some incense to lure Pokemon or go to your nearest Pokestop and drop a lure to get everybody on the party, but unless you live in one of those city-type places that look like the Poke Mecca, you're really pretty much assed out. I mean, this is San Francisco, and this is like just up the hill just outside of the Bay. There's nothing. Nothing. So imagine if you don't live near a city, you're pretty much effed. Like that's it, you're done. Just forget about it. Uninstall Pokemon Go, go play something else. And you can, but mostly can't hunt Pokemon. Seriously, at every stage of development outside of the first week, can't has been the operative word to describe tracking Pokemon. Do you live in a densely populated region? Well, your word is can't. Because the tracker, as of this recording, no longer gives you a distance measurement and just says that it's around here somewhere. Or it shows you the nearest Pokestop or whatever, and that's not really hunting so much as it is going to the nearest bus stop and waiting for the bus to show up. Now, do you live in a rural area? Well, odds are, even if the tracker was fixed, your assigned word is still can't. You're just screwed until they figure out a system that works and supports all different areas and regions of the United States and the world in general. And as you're collecting Pokemon, things start to get weird because you have that first Pikachu that you collect. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is like the Pikachu, like the Pokemon for those of us who maybe didn't play a lot of Pokemon growing up. This is the one. We recognize this one. Holy crap, this is gonna be mine forever. I'm never gonna let you go. Oh shit, look at this guy. Like an additional like +1 CP point or something like that. And that's pretty much it. Done. Get fucked, original Pikachu. You're useless. I'm out of here. See ya. There's just no reason to keep and nurture any Pokemon. You hold on to them until you get one that's better or you evolve it into something you don't have, and that's pretty much it. And then there's the trainer leveling system, which it kind of makes sense how this works. Everything you do generates experience points. You can use a lucky egg to double the amount of experience points you gain by doing all of these things within a 30-minute time frame from when you consume it. It's a pretty simple system, the entire thing, and when you level up, you get you get Pokeballs, sometimes you get eggs, you just get all kinds of stuff. And so it's something you want to continue to do. And if you want to level up very, very quickly, you could take those thousands of Pidgeys or Zubats or whatever, and you could just basically evolve spam them while you're sitting there doing nothing in the car or at home. And of course, with the lucky egg or whatever buff, and just sit there and roll in all the XP. Look at this, just rolling in XP, just bam. And this is pretty much the most common way to power level yourself. If you don't want to power level yourself, that's fine, but keep in mind that the higher level you go, and this is just through observation, I haven't actually looked this up, but this is pretty common knowledge here. The more Pokemon you capture and the higher level you go, the higher level CP that will show up. So the higher level Pokemon that show up when you're just randomly walking around. When I first started out, everything was CP10. Now, when I'm walking around, I'll see CP300s all day, or even higher than that if I'm lucky. And then, of course, there's people that are level 20 and above who are walking around, they're getting like CP1Ks, like just super high level Pokemon, just walking around in their neighborhood. And then there's this complete and utter mayhem and just craziness that's happening with the mainstream media and the news outlets reporting on what's happening within the Pokemon Go, like, mainstream pop culture phenomena. You've seen this everywhere. It's pretty much set itself up to be the hit of 2016 and possibly beyond, assuming that Niantic actually plays his cards right. Now, all this is, of course, assuming it doesn't wind up somehow killing everyone who plays it. Is there even another game out there that has a KDR as legit as Pokemon Go? I don't think so. Let's just look at how many people have allegedly died playing. They're everywhere. There's even a class action lawsuit against Pokemon Go for just, they're in related news. In New York, they've banned people on the RSO, the Registered Sex Offenders List, from playing Pokemon Go. They're actually trying to get Niantic to put into the game somehow and make it so that people who are on this list can't play Pokemon Go. Remember when you were 14 and pissing in the dark corner of a public garage at like 3 o'clock in the morning? That could have been you signing away your right to play Pokemon Go almost 2 decades in advance. Now, of course, the purpose of this is to keep people who are an actual danger to the society away from schools and parks. I mean, who would have thought a decade ago that somehow Pokemon would just interject itself into every aspect of modern society? It would just become part of everything. It is everywhere. Now here we are outside of a month from the original launch date here in the States, and fewer people are playing it, yes, here in the States, but overall worldwide, still rolling it out more and more regions, more and more people can be playing. It's going to become a worldwide phenom by the end of the year for sure, no doubt, no doubt. I may have stopped playing it so often, you may have stopped playing it so often, but rest assured, as a matter of fact, here, real life scenario, I'm in San Francisco at one of the piers with a bunch of family and everything, just like the other weekend. And while I'm there, I'm looking around and I'm noticing everybody's playing. As a matter of fact, some of the people I was with, some of the family I was with, was playing it. They were playing it while we were there walking around. They were glued to their phones playing the damn thing. But the day that I was there, some guy got shot playing it, or allegedly playing it. You know, maybe just had it installed or whatever. But still, like, it was everywhere. It's still everywhere. It still blows my mind that so many people have become involved in this. And the best part is that the roller coaster that is Nintendo stock actually had nothing to do with it. Niantic is the one who obviously is making the majority of the cash here because of what? The licensing agreement that they had with Nintendo. So Nintendo, being a partial owner of the actual license, they get to split a partial licensing earnings from the Niantic. And that's going to be basically, it's money, but it's not going to be anything compared to what Niantic is making. So what's the next step for these guys, and who are we going to believe as to what they're going to do with the game? These guys, same guys who made a game called Ingress, and a lot of people who play Ingress, or maybe the vocal minority, I'm not quite sure which because I don't play the game, have said that they're going to run the game into the ground, and they're not going to listen to their community, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, they've already shown that they're not very good at communicating with their community, but they've been taking strides in order to correct that. So I can only assume, for the sake of the player base, that they're going to continue to grow, and they're going to continue to add more features, and of course further communicating with the community and listening to the community what they have to say, starting with the fucking tracker. Get the tracker shit together, guys. All right, so that just about does it for today's BFF report. Thank you very much for tuning in. Definitely interested in seeing what else happens in the future for Pokemon Go and for Niantic, and hopefully they get themselves a customer service representative to get on Twitter and actually, work with the community. It's a community resource, social media and whatnot. It kind of makes sense for them to go ahead and utilize that to communicate with their people. They've been doing a terrible job of doing it recently, so hopefully they actually make that happen. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go catch a couple more Pokemon, and then I'm pretty much gonna call it. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later. Welcome to the BFF Report. I'm your host, Mike B, aka Phony, and today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Go. And Welcome to the BFF Report. I'm your host, Mike B, aka Phony, and today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Go and all of the controversies that go along with it. Obviously, we talk a little bit about the game itself and talk